Hello there, I'm Dark Shades and welcome to my channel. As you know, I talk about relationship stuff on this channel. I shouldn't say stuff, but relationship issues on this channel. And I like to kind of delve a bit deeper into why things happen. And a lot of times I do it because I want to help people. So what am I trying to mitigate against today? Well, I wanted to talk about relationships and how you can try to avoid an unhappy relationship. So many of us, we look at couples when we go out and we're kind of thinking, oh, I wish I was in a relationship like that. Oh, I wish that was me. Oh, look how they look so happy. Look how they're dancing together. They're always going on holiday together. They're always hugging. They're always kissing. And it kind of leaves people feeling a bit wanton. It's almost like even a little envious. But what we don't know is what goes on behind closed doors. And a lot of times, those people who you see, the more demonstrative ones, are the ones who are not really happy behind closed doors. So don't be too disheartened when you see relationships like that. Like I said, especially the ones where they overly demonstrate, overly loving, kissing and all kinds of stuff. And they're doing it for public show because a lot of time it's hiding abuse in one way or another. And when I say abuse, it doesn't have to be physical abuse. It can be emotional, psychological, and financial abuse. So, how do you prevent? What I'm trying to do now is how can you prevent ending up in one of those marriages or relationships that you're going to wish you hadn't got into? Because a lot of us, we're with people, we know something isn't right, we rationalize it, and we try to make it right. And we try to believe that it's okay. Okay, it's just, he just hasn't done that. Oh, it's only a small thing. And when you realise how those small things can become big things, you really need to pay attention. So let me see what I've got here. If you're looking for a man to make you feel content, here are some tips. Doing your homework to choose the right person is very important. So, don't forget to question, why is he single when most of the good men are taken? So, that's not to down single men, but you have to ask yourself, why are they single? What has happened in previous relationships? Why they're not with that person? And sometimes it could either be because it could be single because he hasn't got over the last partner, in which case he's not a good catch. He could be single because he's a commitment phobe. In other words, he's not a good catch. He could be single because he's narcissistic and he's got found out. Not a good catch. He could be single because he's selfish and inconsiderate. Once again, not a good catch. He could be single because he's too prideful and arrogant. Not a good catch. And then the most obvious one we would like to believe is that he's single just because he hasn't met the right person. That's what we would like to believe. We'd like to believe that this man, he's looking for a solid relationship. He's looking for security. He's looking to settle down. He just hasn't met the right person. But that's very, very rare. Because when if those type of people, they know what they want, they don't play games, and they're straightforward. So you'll know the difference. Okay, so can he pay bills on his own, or is he constantly having to borrow money? Some of these videos are kind of duplicating other videos because the reasons why you might not be happy in a relationship are more or less the same. So there will be some overlaps. So is he a good earner but stingy? A lot of women want a man with a good job, who's a lawyer, famous footballer, a doctor, but the man is stingy. What is the point of having somebody who's a good earner, earns a lot of money, and yet you don't benefit from it? I've told this story time again. I was married to a bodyguard of somebody who's really famous, and he earned about £1,000 a week. In the 1980s, that was a lot of money. Even today, it's a lot of money. Anyway, he would come home and he would put that money on the table. And he would take out, and maybe it was £20 he would take out of it. I can't remember, even though £20 was probably quite a bit in the 80s. I don't know. But anyway, he would take out 20 quid and he would give it to me and say, this is for the shopping, for his shopping, not for the family, not for me and him. This was his shopping. And he would come with me and make sure that he had his list and make sure that £20 went on what he wanted. And why I'm telling you that story is because he was well off and he was stingy. Well, I shouldn't even say he was stingy, because he would take us out for dinners and stuff like that, but he wouldn't help with the household bills. He would spend his money on how he could benefit then, what he could benefit from. If he wasn't benefiting from something, and you could say, well, paying the bills, at least he's got heating, he's got a roof over his head. But he didn't see it that way. So all I'm saying is, don't let the job that somebody does and how much they earn determine whether or not you want that partner in your life. It's much better to have somebody with a mediocre job who is going to go out of their way and buy you something that comparably is more than what the person who's spent all these hundreds or whatever they've spent on you on a dinner, and he's taken maybe 20 or 30 quid out of his small salary to buy you something. That is more meaningful, because when you kind of pro rata it, he's actually spent more than the person who's got more money. So when you're looking for somebody, don't look at the job. It's important that they got a job, or important at least that they have an income, but just look at the way they treat you as opposed to how much money they have and what kind of job they have. That's what I'm trying to say. So when thinking of your potential mate, don't think of how much he earns, but how he treats you. Not about how much he is making, but how does he manage his money? That's another thing. You can have a man who's got a lot of money and he blows it, you know, and he every week he's waiting for that £1,000 because he uses that money frivolously. And then you can have somebody who's on a low wage, but he's quite vigilant in how he spends the money and he manages it well. So every week he's got a little extra to do A, B, C, D and E, even though he's earning less than the person who's earning the thousands. He's better off because he's not scrimping at the end of the month. So it's important how they manage their money. Does he have savings? So hold on, I've jumped it a bit. Similar, I have, okay. Oh yeah, what I put here is that, you know, you can visit a man's home that's quite lavish, that's quite posh. And you're and the way that man makes you feel is like you're on tenterhooks. You know, you don't want to kind of touch anything or move anything or anything out of place. You feel kind of restricted. Everything is so pristine. Or you can go to somebody who's just got a room and yet they make you feel so at home. They make you feel so comfortable. You don't have to feel as though you're on tenterhooks. So it's not what people have. Yes, you can find people who might have a little bit of money who treat you well. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about money not being the focus, how much people have not being the focus, and what their home is like not being the focus, but how they make you feel comfortable within the home. So, would you prefer to be in a home where you don't move for fear of putting something out of place, or do you prefer a place where you can kick back and relax? Does he have savings? So, if he loses his job, can he survive? Or is he going to have to be asking friends to give him a leg up? Does he plan ahead? Poor money management. Some men relinquish control and allow the spouse to deal with the finances, while others are able to manage the finances efficiently. So to minimize stress in a marriage or a relationship, it'd be good if the man can manage the finances. But if he can't, and he's sensible enough to say, look, to his wife, you just deal with the aspect of it, I don't want to have to think about it. Well, that's just the way it goes. But I guess as long as it's operating in a way that works for both of you and neither of you are pulling each other down because of bad money management, lack of discipline. He says he's not going to do something, but as soon as someone coaxes him, he gives in. You have some people, they don't have no discipline. They might say, oh, look, I'm not going to go out. I'm not going to go out tonight. I'm going to stay home. I'm going to have a quiet night. Then a friend comes around and they say, oh, come on, what are you staying home for? They cannot stick to what they say. So they have to that doesn't just apply to friends. It can apply to members of the family. It can apply to anybody, people at work. He's not somebody who can stick to what he says or what he agrees with you as his wife or what he agrees with himself. He just, as soon as somebody says something, he's off and he's forgotten what he said he wasn't going to do. So that can cause problems in a relationship. Are there addiction issues? Drugs, gambling, alcohol, porn? Did they used to be addicted, but they're no longer addicted? What made them addicted in the first place? Why did they start drinking? Why did they start drinking? Why did they start gambling? Why did they have this porn addiction? Find out what the root is to see whether or not it can come back. Because some people, they are healed, but then the slightest little thing can tip them over and they're back on the bottle. You end up with an alcoholic that you didn't expect, or you end up with a gambling partner or somebody who's got some other addiction. Consuming too much of all of these things consumes the time, the mind, and the body. So why do they need this coping mechanism? That's important. Can he take constructive feedback, or does he become defensive? When you're in a relationship, you need to be able to talk freely. If you can't talk freely without somebody kind of withdrawing or getting upset or getting aggressive or getting defensive, that's a sign you're not going to be able to communicate properly over sensitive issues. So it's good to kind of, even if it's fictitious, find something controversial to ask and see how he responds, or say to him, I don't really want you to wear that jacket. Have you got anything else to wear? And see how he responds. Does he say, oh, I'm wearing it anyway, I never ask your opinion, or, why you have to criticize me? Haven't you got anything good to say? You know what I mean? Just see what the response is like. That's all I'm saying. Compulsive liars. Compulsive lies, that's the worst thing. Somebody lies to you, you don't know where you are. The trust is gone. So if somebody's a compulsive liar, it's not good. Some people lie about silly little things, but those silly little things end up being big things. And then once you get found out, it's just not worth it. Physically and emotionally abusive. You have people who like to play mind games. They do things to make you feel uncomfortable, to keep you on edge, to make you feel unsure, to make you think, are you imagining this? It's psychological abuse when you're not being clear with somebody and you're not, and you're trying to make that person imagine all kinds of things. Sometimes it could even be a simple thing like a phone call. Somebody's supposed to call you, but they don't. They say they're going to definitely call you, and then they don't. And then they leave you wondering whether or not you're going to call. And then they don't call, and they don't call for 2 or 3 days, and then they behave like normal. And they don't say, oh, well, I'm sorry I didn't call, I was meant to call, this came up or that came up. They go on like normal. You'll find people who ignore you 1 minute and then acknowledge you the next. Very, very unhealthy characteristics. Those kind of people you don't want to go into a relationship with. Is he selfish, inconsiderate? Well, you'll know if he's selfish or inconsiderate just by his behaviour. That's an easy one. That's an easy one to detect. You just have to make sure you don't rationalise it and justify the behaviour. You get control freaks, people who just want to control everything you do, or they find ways to control you. If they can't control you physically, they'll find mental ways to control you. Some women are driven to the point they become blind to the fact that they're not getting. Yeah, I see. So some women, they give so much that they don't realise they're not getting anything back. They're blinded by the fact that they want to serve, as women do. They want to serve, they want to give, and they don't even realise their needs are not being met. They're not getting anything back. And then down the line, a few years down the line, they're wondering, what was I doing? What was I thinking? Complacency. Is he satisfied where he is right now? Which is nowhere. Some men are quite satisfied living at home with their mums, not working as long as they get on the dole, just not bothered, just happy to be a slob, happy not doing anything. And they don't want to do anything. I don't know how many of you watched Benefit Street, where those people, they're all on benefits and that is their lifestyle. They've got no intention, and they've been on it since for years and years. They've got no intention of working or coming out of that cycle. Each one, the mother, the father, the children, the grandchildren, they all end up on the dole with no ambition. They just become complacent. So some women look at the relationship in the short term. Oh, it doesn't matter if he's like this, or it doesn't matter, or it's just a small thing. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not going to make a mountain over a molehill. That molehill is going to turn into a mountain if you let it pass and you don't pick up on it. So these little things turn into big things. So don't brush them off. Don't rationalise behaviour in the short term. Ask yourself, is this something you can manage to live with for the rest of your life if you were to live with this person? Do you want the inconsistency? Do you want the up and down? Do you want the mood swings? Do you want him saying, I love you 1 minute and ignoring you the next? Is that what you want for the rest of your life? I don't think so. So couples can look happy, but they might not be happy because they have not considered all of these things that can really, over a period of time, wear you down. And I hope that was helpful. Bye-bye.